Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something a lot of businesses are wrestling with. How do you take ESG, all those big ideas, and turn them into an actual strategy that works in the real world? All right, so here's the big question, right? How do you actually do something with all these ESG principles? I mean, most of us get the what: environmental, social, and governance. But the tough part, the real challenge, is closing that gap between knowing the theory and using it to make real business decisions. And that's exactly what we're talking about when we say the theory-practice gap. It's this place where great ESG ideas can get stuck just staying as concepts, instead of becoming a solid plan that actually makes a difference to the business.
Look, it's a super common problem, a real stumbling block for a lot of companies. But the good news is, there's a really practical way to build a bridge right over it.
So, how do we build that bridge? Well, let's take a look at a really powerful hands-on solution that's designed to do just that. Okay, so this isn't your typical lecture or training session. Not at all. It's an interactive group activity built around a real-world, though hypothetical, business problem. Think of it like this. Your team has to advise a fictional clothing company on how to source its cotton more sustainably. That's the kind of practical, hands-on scenario we're getting at here.
You can really think of this challenge as the crucial link, right? It's what connects those big, high-level ESG ideas directly to the nitty-gritty, the day-to-day of running a business. It's basically the translation tool.
All right, so let's break this down a bit more. How does this whole challenge actually work for the people taking part in it?
So, everyone gets a core task. First, they have to analyze the business scenario. Like that clothing company we mentioned. Then, step 2 is to identify the risks and the opportunities. So a risk might be water shortages where they grow their cotton, but an opportunity could be launching a new sustainable clothing line. And finally, step 3, they have to propose real, actionable solutions.
And this is the framework that holds it all together. See, this isn't just some free-for-all brainstorming session. This grid forces you to be systematic. It makes teams look at every angle, not just the risks, but also the opportunities, across all 3 pillars: environmental, social, and governance. For example, under social opportunities, a team might flag improving labor conditions. That doesn't just lower risk, it's also amazing for your brand's reputation. It's a structure that makes sure you don't miss anything important.
But here's the thing, it's not just about the final answer you come up with. A huge part of the value, maybe even the most important part, is in the process. How your team actually gets to that solution. Because this is where the magic really happens. We're talking about collaborative problem solving, yeah? But you also have to think critically and balance competing priorities. For example, is it worth paying more for organic cotton right now for the long-term brand benefits? There's no simple, textbook answer to that. It's all about learning to navigate those messy, realistic situations that leaders face every single day. So, after going through a challenge like this, what's the big takeaway? What's the ultimate outcome for the people who participate?
Well, this really sums it up perfectly. It's a total transformation. You go from having this theoretical knowledge about ESG in your head to having the practical, strategic confidence to actually go out and apply it. It's that huge leap from just knowing something to knowing how to do something. And the key thing to remember is that this confidence, this capability, it comes from getting your hands dirty. It's not about reading another report or sitting through another presentation. It's about rolling up your sleeves and really wrestling with a complex problem. That's what builds the practical skills you can take back and use in your actual job.
So that kind of leaves us with one final thought to chew on. Now that you've seen how this framework works, how it bridges that gap from theory to practice, what's the biggest ESG challenge your own industry is facing? Where could you apply this kind of thinking right now?